Good morning class, we are starting our today's topic Roman numerals. Roman numerals are those numbers we represent with the English alphabets we write in Romans. Only Romans use these alphabetical numerals in counting. As we write down the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So Roman peoples were use these symbols to count anything and to write down and to remember the counting of the things. So first topic is Roman numerals. Okay. Topic is Roman numerals. This is your chapter number 2. We represent these with some symbols. Only 7 basic symbols represent the counting of Roman numerals. Like there is a chart given below in your book. Roman numerals. And the numbers we write down, we started counting with Hindu Arabic numerals. The counting we normally use, we learned these counting from our childhood, like Hindu Arabic numerals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are the symbols of Roman numerals: capital I, capital V, capital X, capital C, capital L, capital C, capital D, and English alphabet capital M. Okay, I represents the counting number 1 and V represents the counting number 5. X represents the counting number 10 and L represents the counting number 50, and C represents 100, D represents 500 and M represents counting 1000. We can write down the Roman numerals with the help of these English alphabets. These are I, V, X, L, C, D and M. Okay. I represents 1, clear? V represents 5, X represents 10, L represents 50, C represents 100, D represents 500 and M represents 1000. I, V, X, L, C, D, M. We have some rules to write down these numbers. You can write down this chart in your notebook. I, V, X, L, C, D, M. I for 1, 5, 10, 50, 100, 500 and 1000. Rules for forming these Roman numerals. Rule number 1 is repetition of a Roman numeral means addition. Repetition of a Roman numeral means addition, right? Means we can repeat some numbers only for 3 times, not more than 3 times. So first point is only. So which number we can repeat? Only I, only X, C and M. We can repeat I, we can repeat X, we can repeat C and we can repeat M. can be repeated. Okay, point number 2 is V, L and D. These Roman alphabets, Roman numerals cannot be repeated. These alphabets in Romans V, L and D cannot be repeated. Point number 3 is no numeral can be repeated more than 3 times. I told you earlier we can write only Roman numeral for 3 times, not more than 3 times. More than 3 times. This is the rule number 1 for Romans. Repetition of a Roman numeral means addition. Rule number 1. Point number 1 of rule first. Only I, X, C and M can be repeated. V, L and D cannot be repeated. We cannot write V twice and 3 times, and we cannot repeat L 3 times. We cannot repeat D 3 times. Okay. No numeral can be repeated more than 3 times. Only I, X, C and M can be repeated, and it only can be repeated for 3 times. Here are some examples. Example of rule number 1 is, like we want to write down 2. So double I means 1 plus 1. I already told you in chart that 1 represents I. If we write down capital I will represent only 1, and now we are writing I and I, means we are writing I for 2 times, means 1 plus 1 makes 2. So in Roman counting, this double I represent 2, and if we write down I for 3 times, means 1 plus 1 plus 1 means 3. So in Roman numerals this represents 3, and in Roman numerals this represents 2. If we want to write only 1, we will write down the simply I. Clear? Example number 2 means if we want to write X, for X, we are writing X. X means 10. If we want to write double X, means 20. So 10 plus 10 means 20. In Romans we write double X to represent Hindu Arabic numeral 20. If we want to write the 30 in Romans, we have to write down X for 3 times, means 10 plus 10 plus 10 equals to 30. These are Hindu Arabic numeral and these are Roman numerals. X for 10, double X for 20 and 3 times X means 30, means 10 plus 10 plus 10. Now for C. C represents 100. In Romans we write down 2 times C, means 100 plus 100 equals to 200. and C for 3 times means 100 plus 100 plus 100 makes 300. These are Hindu Arabic numeral, clear, and these are Roman numerals. C for 100, double C for 200 and triple C for 300. Now as same with the M. If we write only M means 1000, double M means 1000 plus 1000 makes 2000, and we repeat M for 3 times means 1000 plus 1000 plus 1000 means 3000. Clear? Now point number 1 is clear with the examples. Only I, X, C and M can be repeated, and how we can repeat these symbols. Clear? Point number 2 is that V, L and D cannot be repeated. We cannot write V for 2 times and V for 3 times. This is wrong. Only I, X, C and M can be repeated. So V, L and D, L cannot be repeated and D also cannot be repeated. Only I, X, C and M can be repeated for 3 times. So rule number 1 is clear. Now start your rule number 2. Rule number 2. A smaller numeral written to the right of a larger numeral is always added to the larger numeral. This is your rule number 2. A smaller numeral means any small number in Romans written to the right of a larger numeral is always added to the larger numeral. If we write down any small numeral in Romans counting, we will add this Roman numeral to the right numbers, as the examples are given. Like V and I, means I is a smaller numeral in Romans and V is a larger numeral. The smaller numeral is written on the right side of the larger numeral. So we will add this numeral in the smaller numeral. V means 5 and I means 1. So it makes 6 in Hindu Arabic numerals. Clear? V and I, V means 5 and I means 1, and 5 plus 1 makes 6, means in the sense in Roman numerals we will write down 6 with a larger numeral and with a smaller numeral. smaller numeral will be added to the larger numeral if it is written on the right side. Next example, if you want to write the 7, so this V represent 5 and I represent 1 and again I represent 1. So 5 plus 1 6 and plus 1 makes 7. In Hindu Arabic numeral this is 7 and this is 6. And in Roman numerals we write down V and I. We are repeating I 2 times, means the 1 is written 2 times. V means 5, I means 1 and I means 1, 5 plus 1 plus 1, 5, 6, 7. The Roman numerals are written as 7. Next, X and I. X means 10 plus I means 1 makes 11. So 11 will be written in Romans X and I. The smaller numerals are given on right hand side, so these smaller numeral will be added to the larger numeral. Clear? Now L and X. L means 50 plus X means 10. So 50 plus 10 makes 60. How will you write 60 in Roman numerals? L and X. L for 50, X for 10. 50 plus 10 makes 60. So we will write down 60 in Romans, L and X. L is already large numeral and X is a smaller numeral. So we are writing smaller numeral to the next of large numeral. We will add smaller numeral to the large numeral. Next example, C and X. C means 100 plus X means 10. So 110 makes 110. If we want to write 110 in Roman numerals, we will write down C and X. C is a large numeral. Again I am telling you X is a small numeral and smaller numeral will be added to the large numeral because these smaller numerals are written on the right hand side. Last example is C, X, X and X. Clear? C means 100 plus X means 10 plus X means 10 and again X means 10, means 100 plus 10, 110 and 110 plus 10, 120 and 120 plus 10 makes 130, right? So we will write 130 in Roman numerals. C, X, X and X means triple X. Next example, if we write down L, X, X and X means L means 50, 50 plus X means again 10, again 10 and X means again 10 equals to 50 plus 10 60, 60 plus 10 70 and 70 plus 10 means 80. So in Hindu Arabic numeral we are writing 80, 80 and in Roman numerals we will write down L, X, X and X means L for 50, X for 10, X for 10 and X for 10. These are smaller numeral and will be added to larger numeral. Okay. One more example is given, C and L. Now you will tell me C means 100 plus L means, we are already written L so many times, L and L. L means 50, L means 50. So again we are adding L means 50. C represents 100 and L represents 50. So we will add the smaller numeral to the larger numeral. C plus L means 100 plus 50. So 1 150. This is Hindu-Arabic numeral and this is Roman numeral. Now all the points are clear to you? C plus L means C for 100 and L for 50. 1 plus 50 means 150, 150. Now you can note down all these points. So, rule number 2 is clear. Rule number 3. Rule number 3 is a smaller numeral written to the left of a larger numeral is always subtracted from the larger numeral. This is your rule number 3. A smaller numeral written to the left of a larger numeral is always subtracted from the larger numeral. The rule number 2 was, if any number is written on your right side, means on next to the larger numeral, that will be added to the larger numeral. Now rule number 3 is just opposite to the rule number 2. If any smaller numeral is written to the left of a larger numeral, is always be subtracted from the larger numeral. Clear? Here are some points. Point number 1 is V, L and D are never subtracted. Point number 2, I, capital I represents 1. As we know, I can be subtracted from V and X only. V and X only. I is a smaller numeral and V and X is a larger numeral. So, in rule number 3, a smaller numeral can be subtracted from the larger numeral if it is written on the left side of the larger numeral. example. I and V. I represents 1 and V represents 5. If we write down the numbers in the same sequence of given Roman counting, we cannot subtract 5 from 1. So, we will write the larger numeral first and then we will put the subtraction sign and then a smaller numeral. Now, it is easy to subtract. Now, we will subtract 1 from 5. So, 5 minus 1 makes 1, 2, 3 and 4. So, we will write down 4 here. This Hindu Arabic numeral is 4 and this Roman numeral is representing 4 in Roman numeral. Clear? So, I and V will written as 4, I and V will be read as 4. Next is I and X. I means 1 and X is a large numeral, so we will write down 10 first. 10 minus 1 makes 9. This is Hindu Arabic numeral 9 and in Roman numerals we will write down 9 as I and X. In both examples we can see that a smaller numeral is written to the left of the right biggest means larger numeral, right? V is larger than I and X is larger than I. So, that's why the rule number 3 is a smaller numeral written to the left of a larger numeral is always be subtracted from the larger numeral. Now, we can subtract the I from the V, means V is a larger numeral and I is a smaller numeral. Clear? I and V will be read as 4 and I and X for 9 in counting. Some more examples like X and L. X is a smaller numeral and L is a larger numeral. So, larger numeral is L. L means 50 minus X means 10, means we will subtract 10 from 50, it will be 40. So, 50 minus 10 makes 40. This is 40 and this is Roman numeral 40, X and L. Orally we will subtract X from the L, means X means 10, a smaller numeral is written on the left hand side and larger numeral is given on the right side. Some more examples are given like X and C. So, 100 minus 10 means 90. If you want to write the 90 in Romans, we will represent X and C because a smaller numeral is written on the left side of the larger numeral. There is one more point given right here. Point number 4 is 1, 2, 3 and 4. C can be subtracted. C can be subtracted from D and M only. This C only subtracted from D and M. For this point, we can show one more example. C and D. D means 500 and C means 100. So 500 minus 100 makes 400. If you want to write the 400 in normal Hindu Arabic numerals, 400, and if we want to, we will write in Romans, we will represent with C and D. D is a larger numeral and C is a smaller numeral. Only C can be subtracted from the D and M. Again, C and M means 1000 minus 100. It will represent 900 means 900. 1000 minus 100 means 900 and C and M. C is a smaller numeral again in both numbers and M is a larger numeral and D is a larger numeral. So, C can be subtracted from D and M only. We can subtract C only from D and M. There is one more point, rule number 4 is left. So, we will write down rule number 4 again. Okay, we have learned rule number 1, rule number 2 and rule number 3. These 3 rules are given to you today's topic, and we understood the Roman numerals, how we can write, how we can subtract and how we can add. So, only rule number 4 is left, and that rule number 4 and exercise work will be given to you in the next class. So, that's it for today. Thank you and have a nice day.